Hello, amazing artists. Welcome back. It's Kelly Folsom here, and we're having another art life conversation. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about what do I think the pros and cons of going to art school are. I get asked a lot, I've been asked a lot in the past, especially by younger people. Do you think it's worth it to go to art school? Would you like an actual degree granting art school program? Would you recommend that? So today I'm going to be sharing with you my experience, all the nitty gritty, inside details, and what my opinion is about going to an art college, an art school, and getting a degree. Obviously, there's always like a lot of context around these things, a lot of kind of like it depends on, what you want to do as an artist. So I'm really going to be coming at this as a studio artist who basically creates her own work, who didn't go into design, or, animation or illustration or things like that. Okay. So that is my point of view that I'm coming from in my experience, just to give you some context. First, let's dive into the cons, because we all know that our human brain is naturally built to default to the negative. So we might as well just go there and get that dealt with. All right, so what are the downsides? What are the cons? I would say the biggest, and sometimes it's actually a con that's happening as well. But one of the biggest downsides, of course, is the money. I mean, the immense amount of money that it can cost to attend a college, first of all. Second of all, like the kind of art college I went to, which was a private college, which costs a lot more, for example, versus say a state college or something like that. And so money, lots and lots and lots of money in order to do this. And for most of us, myself, my experience was therefore lots of debt. If you weren't raised with a family that saved money for your college education like me, basically it meant that the only way that I was able to do this was to take on student loan debt, right? And so in order to do that, I ended up with over $100,000 of student loan debt. So that is the number one biggest con, biggest downside to attending an art college. Okay. I would say number two is, the quality of education that you're actually going to get for that price. Eek. I just don't think it was worth it. I don't think the education that I received from the art professors that I studied with was really worth the cost of admission. On top of that, you have to also take a lot of classes that are not necessarily related to where you want to go as an artist and what you want to do. For example, we had classes, we had a mathematics class, and it was weird. We did a class on mathematics, and we were studying Babylonian mathematics. I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with, us making art? Art history classes, which I loved. I actually almost minored in art history, but you're basically at the mercy of like what kind of art history classes are they going to offer? What is that professor interested in? I will be honest with you and tell you that a lot of the classes that I attended, were mostly studio time, which was great, but there wasn't a lot of, constructive criticism that was given. There wasn't a lot of, like one-on-one help throughout the day. There wasn't a lot, actually, a lot of times there wasn't a lot of prepared instruction, So I feel like that the quality of the education that I got in relationship to the amount of money that it cost was not on par. It didn't line up for me. The other downside for me was in regards to that education, there was like literally next to no business education whatsoever. No, we had one semester of like a career building class, and we talked about photographing art, how to submit to galleries, which was the most valuable thing that I got out of that class. But otherwise, it was not forward thinking, and it was not like looking to the future and where things are going. There was not a lot of support and help for now, how do you actually make a living as an independent artist? Okay, so since leaving art school, I have invested a lot more of my own money and time and energy into trying to learn how to market myself, how to build, my own art business, how to cultivate my own collector base. All of those things I've had to learn either through other sources, even if it's like through YouTube or I've signed up with many business coaches for artists over the years, especially the last 5 years, to try to help me be able to earn enough money as an independent artist to pay back those student loans. Okay, so those are all, I could probably give you a much longer list than that, but I think that those are the biggies. Those are the biggest downsides in my mind, versus what you're going to get, because I feel like you could actually invest way less money. If you want to be an independent studio artist, you could invest way less money in taking independent continuing education classes or working with a professional master artist, getting mentored by them. I feel like you could invest way less money doing that and get a higher quality of education. And you could also tailor what you want to learn about based on that. So based on where you want to go. So you could really customize your own education. Of course, the downside of that is you don't get your lovely BFA. And for me, back then in the day, that was really important because I didn't know if I was going to need a BFA or not. As an independent artist, I don't think much of anybody cares if I have a BFA. They're mostly looking at, my resume, what I've participated in, have I won awards, or looking at the quality of the work. Do they feel like that the work is good enough to get into the show or to be sold? My customers, my collectors don't care if I have a BFA, Anyways, so that to me is all the downsides. What were the pros? What were the upsides and the pros? Because there's always upsides and downsides to everything, right? The pros for me, in my experience, was that it gave me 4 solid years to basically have the time to paint. Yes, that landed me with a lot of student loan debt, but it gave me 4 years where I could just really focus on building my mastery as an artist. As an adult student, I was 28 whenever I went to art school. I was blessed to have the maturity of being older than 18 years old. And again, upsides and downsides to that too. But I was blessed to be older whenever I went. And I knew that I really wanted to make this count. This was my dream, to be an artist, and it was worth it to me to invest this time and invest this energy, and invest the money even into it. So for me, that was the main upside, was just the time to learn and grow and build a foundation as an artist, and I always loved making art, but I had never even been to an art museum before, So that having the time to kind of be like in this chrysalis, right? Before you spread your wings as a butterfly, have the time to kind of be in this cocoon where I could really learn and I could really study. And I also ended up taking workshops and classes with other artists outside of the college as well. I also taught myself a lot through books and through DVDs back then, because we didn't have all this fantastic online education that we have now. But I supplemented, my education and customized my own education based on where I wanted to go with my own art. But just making that commitment, that investment was a big commitment. And so for a lot of people, making the financial investment will hold them accountable to the commitment that they have made to themselves, which is why, it's actually very helpful to do something like that. At the end of the first year of art school, when I was actually considering, should I switch gears? Should I go do something else? Should I go to a different school? Because I just wasn't pleased with how the situation was turning out. I just having that investment, knowing that I had already invested $25,000 in 1 year of art school was enough to hold me to it. Now I could have cut my losses and left, and I don't know what would have happened. I don't know how committed I would have stayed. I don't know how accountable I would have stayed if I had done that. If I had said, okay, I'm just going to go my own path. I'm just going to sign up and work with people as I can afford it. Because that was another thing. I could get the funding, even though it resulted in a lot of debt. I could get, the funding to go to school at that time. So, it's interesting how one of the downsides was actually one of the upsides as well for me, right? And that's just kind of the nature of life and how it works, I think, a lot of times. So for somebody that needs that amount of commitment and investment in order to show up consistently, and if that's something that works for you, then that is a good motivator, right? And plus, like, you're in this environment with other people who are trying to do the same thing with you. Now, you have to be, I think, to a certain degree, a disciplined person, because at art school, like, you can really BS your way through art school. You can actually, like, not do, in my experience at the school I went to, you could actually be pretty lazy, not do a lot of the work, and still wind up getting your degree. But the problem with that is the students who did that, whenever they graduated, they just didn't have the skill set. And obviously also they didn't have the drive, right? They didn't have the discipline and they didn't have the drive. So I think if you're going to do it, you have to know that you're not just going to get lazy. You're not just going to BS your way through it, because really that just hurts you in the end, right? You're really just hurting yourself. Not only because if you're going to invest that much money to go to art school, like, you better damn well make the most of it. That's for sure. The other upside for me would be that it showed me at that time in my life that I was worth it. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. Making that huge commitment, that huge step I was showing myself that I loved myself, that I was worth it, that I was worth becoming the person that I wanted to become. So, huge upside with that. And yes, it's taken me a lot of years to pay off, especially the private student loan debt, which came first, but to pay off a lot of that student loan debt. So a question I get a lot is like, do I regret it? No, I don't regret it, not one bit. Were there things that I think could have been better? Were there things that, I think could have been changed in terms of, how the college represented themselves, how the professors showed up? 100%, 100%. And I do not regret it, not for 1 minute. So that's my perspective on it. I hope that this has been helpful to you if you are just starting on your journey and you're trying to make that decision. I hope that this has given you some more nuanced, hopefully some nuanced enough insight to kind of give you clarity on what you want to do and how you want to move forward. And of course, you really have to know yourself and, what's going to work best for you, and how you're best going to show up in order to, follow your dream to become an artist. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful to you. Can't wait to hear from you below. And if you have any further topics that you would like me to discuss or cover, you can email those to me at info@artlifewithkelli.com. Like and subscribe if you're here, of course, if you find these valuable. And lots of freebies and gifts are down below for you. So check those out as well in the description box. All right. Until next time, I'm wishing you happy creating and bye for now.